Greetings everyone, it's Shawana Mae on Feeling Omi channel. Today is part 4 of my grandson's quilt that I designed, and what I'm going to do today is show you all how to do the block letters. I'm doing a quilt with my grandson's name on it, and today I'm going to be showing you a simple way to create block letters. Okay, I am doing a heirloom quilt for my grandson that it would be my great and great grandmother did. No, my grandmother and great grandmother. I'm my grandson's grandmother, so my grandmother and her mother. So I get this confused. I think it's great for him times 3, and his great grandmother. So my mom would have been his great grandmother. May her soul rest in peace. And she did not have a part in creating this quilt, but her mother did. So his great and great grandmother, her mother and her grandmother did. So his great and great grandmother had started this quilt. If you want the complete story behind this, go back and watch my other videos from the beginning. And while you're here, please do subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you're notified. I'm trying to get enough subscribers so that I can become an online presence here on YouTube, doing all the things that I enjoy doing. I'm an artist, so I paint in watercolor. I love nature. I love gardening, urban gardening. I garden on my patio. I've gardened with urban gardens in the center of the city. Rural gardening. I grew up in a rural part of California, so I'm familiar with a lot of things with nature. I love hiking barefoot. I love cooking. I love yoga a lot. So mental health, anything that has to do with creating a safe and peaceful space, I'm for it. Okay, for all of us. Okay, so today we're going to be doing the block letters, the big letters. I've already completed the T, and I have it here on this. This is actually I'm pinning it so I can hold it up and show you. This is a pillowcase, and it has lines on it, as you can see. And so I'm using this pillowcase somewhat as a measurement because it has lines on it. I am a new school grandma and recreating an old school quilt. So this is a block quilt, and it's meant to be easy so that us new school grandmas can have some joy in doing this quilt, and it's not too complicated. I know my skill level may be a little more a little bit more experienced than some of you, so I'm trying to make this quilt as easy as possible. I sew like I cook. I don't use measurements. I can eye things, and so we're going to be creating, but I've also gone to fashion design school, so I have some equipment that is ideal for those of you who are learning and want to use measurements. Okay, so I may throw some actual lines and measurements in there, technicality kind of stuff in there from every now and then. But you'll get the gist of what I'm doing. So today we are doing block letters. So I got the T for the T in his name. His name is Ty. His middle name is Jen. And so now I am making sure these letters are going to fit on the patches that I cut. So these are the patches that I cut, and you can see these in the other video. I have 2 different patterns of baby dragon material. There's the white and there's the blue and gray is what I'm calling this one. And these are baby dragons. We call my grandson Baby Dragon. And I am doing the A in his name now. So that's what this video is for. This is just going to be a simple way to create block letters for the quilt. And what I'm going to do now is take one of these blocks off of here. And that way we kind of have a general idea of where it will fit. They're going to go on the lighter color fabric patches. The big patch actually in the middle. So I guess I could leave that on there because the big patch in the middle of the quilt, which is where the letters will be, this is all one piece behind the letters. So that's the big block. These are small blocks that I cut, and that's what you see hanging up back there. Okay, and I have them in the various colors. Go back and watch the other video and this will all make sense. Okay, so with the big patch, I've basically, this is the big patch right here. And what I've done is, since I have 3 letters on the big center patch, I've folded this material twice so that I get 3 sections. Okay? So I folded it twice so that I get 3 sections. So I folded it in thirds. Okay? And this is the centerpiece of the fabric of the quilt, so it'll go in the center. I've already measured all this in the other videos. I've laid it out so you can see it all laid out. So now we're going to create the letters. You saw the T in green, and I'm doing the letters in the Ethiopian flag colors because I have Ethiopian heritage, and this is an heirloom quilt. And those are the patches. So this is the blue and gray, the ones with the lines, the shaded lines, and this is the white baby dragon print that's going to be also in the center underneath the letters. So the thing that will define the patches and make them stand out is the positioning of these two so that they don't go in the same direction as the center white piece that we're going to put the letters on top of. And when you go back and look at my last video, video 3, you'll see how I laid those out to give that effect. So basically what we're doing is we're recreating an old school quilt type in a new school way, in an easy way. Generally, block quilts or patch quilts have lots of different patterns on them, like the one that my grandmother and her mother started to create. So this has a lot of different patches on it. It can get a little difficult if you're not a seasoned quilt maker. So basically what I'm doing is creating a block quilt with large blocks. I'm repositioning the way that the patterns go to make the blocks look like they are blocks and not just one piece of white fabric like that. You know, so I reposition these as blocks, and now we're creating the letters, okay, on top of the center patch, the center block, which is actually the shape of a rectangle. So that's a rectangle shape. And I folded the center block, the center rectangle, into thirds. And I'm laying it down on my cutting table, and I'm using this little, should pin that. I'm using this little striped pillowcase as kind of a measuring tool, okay? So if you can find a striped pillowcase or a case that has a pattern on it that's easy for you to translate measurements in your mind on, then feel free to do that. It makes it a little bit easier. You can always get a a white or a solid color pillowcase and use a marker to mark your measurements on it, and then you would be able to reuse that pillowcase as somewhat of a marker. I should probably do a video on that, getting a pillowcase and just making it a tabletop ruler by marking your measurements on there, and then that's something you could actually reuse for yourself. But I'm using this striped pillowcase, okay? And as you can see, it's not completely done. Like, I just ironed it under. And speaking of which, you're gonna need an iron for this with some steam. So I have my trusty iron here, and I have some water here all ready to pour in my iron, and I'm gonna go over here and do that really quick so that we get some steam going. And I'm hoping my iron comes back to life, because it plugged it in and it came on and I didn't use it. If I don't use it right away, it times out. Okay, it feels like it's still on. Okay, so I'm just putting some water in my iron, because you're going to need to steam this on top of the pillowcase. Alright, I try to use all natural fabrics when I sew, so I try to use all natural fabrics when I sew. Therefore, this material is cotton. This is a cotton fleece, so it's soft, like pajamas, soft. Okay, and this is just a solid cotton fabric. Okay, it's not a fleece. And we are making the letter A. I started here, and if you can see this this is the bottom of the A. I pressed it at a slant because it's going to actually lay on that pillowcase across one of the lines to make a capital letter A. So it's not going to go this way, it's going to go that way, and then it'll have another one like it going across it, and then one that goes across the two to attach them for the capital letter A. When I say across it, I mean it'll come across it here at the top, and then we'll have to make some adjustments to cut that and press it under. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but what I'm going to do now is, so let's see, this pillowcase is about the same length as these blocks, right? Just about, not quite. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. That's my point. If you're OCD and you need everything to be perfect, I might get on your nerves. but yeah, I'm not trying to make everything perfect. I think I like the character that things look like, how they look when you don't just go straight by the book on stuff. When there's some variation in the creation of your piece, to me it looks more authentic. Okay, so I do want these letters to be somewhat the same size. So I do want the A to be the same size as the T. So I'm going to move the T over a little bit on my pillowcase. Actually, I could probably leave it right there and just unfold the pillowcase, and then that way you guys can see. So I'm learning. I'm doing this as I go along. This is the first quilt that I've ever made. Okay, so I'm right there with you guys. Now, I've sewn professionally, and I've created some pretty magnificent things, but I've never done a quilt. So I'm pinning this down. I'm kind of using my lines to measure. So I got, let me bring that a little closer. I got it up here at this line here at the top and kind of close to this line at the bottom. So this is off. This is a little wider, but that's okay because I haven't sewn it down yet. I'm just using this to measure how tall my A is going to be, okay? So now I'm going to unfold this I'm going to unfold this pillowcase so that I can use the other side of the pillowcase to measure my A, okay? I think I got this pillowcase at a thrift store, okay? So you don't gotta go out and buy a whole brand new set of sheets if you don't have a striped pillowcase at home. Go look at the thrift stores, and I'm sure you'll be able to find one. Okay. So I'm just gonna move this out the way because I'm using the pillowcase now to measure the size. Initially, I used the fabric to measure the size of the T. Okay. So you want to make sure your letters fit on the actual piece of material that you're going to create it on. So initially when I laid out the T, I laid it out on the center piece of the fabric, which is that piece that I folded in thirds. And then I folded that in thirds to make sure that they were spaced properly also. Okay, if that makes sense. So if I could show you that from this paper, and you just think of it like, okay, think of it like this. We'll do it like this. I have that white piece of fabric with the baby dinosaurs on it, which is the centerpiece, right? That's the centerpiece. I laid it out on my table like this. I laid that centerpiece out like that. Just that piece. And then I folded it twice so that there were thirds. I folded it here and I folded it here so that I knew the space of my letters would be proper. That's how you can do things without measuring, okay? And so that T that you saw, the green T, is going to fit on 1/3 of that space. The A will fit on the center and the I will fit on the other opposite end of the T. Okay, so we will be using this white fabric again to make sure that that A fits in this width, how wide this is. This is 1/3 of that piece. This folds out into a long piece. Okay, it folds out. If I opened it up, it would be like this, where it would be wide like this. Right, if I open this up. So this is the T, the A, and the I. Okay. All right. So we're going to use that again to make sure that the A fits on there properly. So I think what I'll do is just leave this nearby so that I remember to do that. Okay. So now we're doing the A. And this is going to be the other side of the A, right? And this will be the center of the A. Okay? So what I did is I measured the A to be the same width wide as the green on the T, and then I pressed the sides down. So I pressed the sides in on that piece and made one long golden piece of the A. Okay, and then I had to use the line on the pillowcase to measure how much of a slant I was going to sew for this slant to be straight onto the line. Okay, if that makes sense to you. I wish I had a camera crew. I could show you this all from above or different angles. But I'm just starting out. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you this way. I'll come closer so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. So, if you can see this, after I press those edges on there, and you can see this right there, I had to decide how much of an angle I was going to press this down so that the bottom line of the A fit straight across. Just think of like writing on paper, right? So that fit there and had a nice slant to it when I laid it over, because I want my A to be the same height as my T, right? So then I press that down. So, and I know on here it looks like they're not even, but they really are. This is pressed into two. Okay, so those will both be on that same line, like so. Oh, you get the picture, right? They'll both be on that same line. Like that. Okay. So that's what I'm doing over there. I'm making the bottom of the T and the bottom of the A go straight. So you'll have to figure out the angle to press this down to make your A lay flat and tilt like this. Okay, you could create the other kind of A where it's like an upside down U with a line across the middle, but that requires a little more fabric, or it just requires you pressing your fabric a different way, and I didn't want to do that. I'm really tempted to bring this camera over here so you can see it from this angle. Let me see if I can do that. I'll just do that. That way you'll really be able to see where I'm coming from here. Okay? And I won't keep the camera in that position for a long time, but at least you'll understand. And like I said, these don't have to be perfect, so don't worry if they're off a little bit, okay? You just want them to have, it's like when you write your name, every letter isn't the same exact angle and same exact, right? So this is your unique signature quilt, heirloom quilt, okay? Some people want to get all algebraic and mechanical with it. I'm not that one. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to take you guys over to the quilt so you can see it from that angle, right? So, there you go. There you go. See that? So, I have them kind of on the same line. That line right there. Let me see. 1 second here. Ooh. Okay, well that came off. Don't want to end my video. Okay, this is getting dangerous, so I'm just gonna, there we go. Okay, I thought that was going to turn the video off. So I'm basically keeping these on this line here. Let's see, this line, which goes across like this. Ooh, angles are challenging, aren't they? So it basically goes along here. You guys should be able to see that now. Same line across there. Same line. All right. This is all about yoga. It's about body mechanics, right? Now there we go. Okay, so that's on the same line. You got that? I made this angle the same as that. Okay, so basically you guys can see what I'm talking about now. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Mine is not perfect, but it's going to look perfect when I'm done. Okay, it's going to look really nice when we're done. Ooh, all up in the grill. That's quite alright. I think I zoomed in, guys. I didn't mean to zoom in. That's okay. There we go. Okay, so let's see. Are we back? We're back. We can move this way a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Alright, so they're on the same line. You got that? Good job. I'm my own cameraman, hey. Alright, so now we're going to do the other side of that. Okay, so you'll get to see exactly how I created this now. Okay. And like I said, I'm wondering if I could bring you guys a little bit closer. Let's try. That way you can see exactly what I'm talking about here. So, is that gonna work? I think if I raise this up and then tilt the camera down, you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Is that it? Just a minute, we're getting there. I need rocks. These doohickeys, I swear. I'm trying to create the angle for you guys. I don't know if that's gonna work. I need like a rock or something to hold this. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Voila! Okay. Just a little ingenuity goes a long, long way. Alright, so here we go. So we got this, and I'm going to turn this way so that it looks like you can see. Oh, I'm smart. Okay, so this is the bottom of my T right here. That's the top of the T. Let's bring this back. There you go. And this is the top of the T. So my A is going to basically, let's just do the A. That way you can see. And you'll just have to trust that I'm keeping it on the line that it needs to be on. Okay, so this is the A. We're going to create another line like this, right? And then there'll be a line across the middle to make the A. Of course, it's going to be better than that. So All right, so here we go. Now, basically, I'm using the other pieces to make my measurements. So basically, I used the T to create how wide I needed the yellow, the gold to be. And that's what we're going to do right now. And then we're just going to press these down. So I just folded this to match that. You see that? And then I press that down. So that's what we're going to do. And I could also use this one to do it, but the green one's easier because it's still, well, I could do it right here in the middle instead of down at the slant too. So I'm measuring this to make sure it's the same width as the one I already cut. And then I'm just going to press that down once I get it folded to the same width. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's still going to be beautiful because you made it. See? I think what I'm going to do is just press this out flat first. So I'm going to press that out flat. Hoping my iron is still on. There we go. There we go. I'm just pressing that out flat. Get a little bit of the wrinkles out. And now I'm going to make sure that they're all the same width. So we got about that looks about right. And I still got enough on the other side. My iron is doing its thing back there. You can hear it. Okay, here we go. Yeah, isn't this exciting? So I hope some of you young mothers watching this are inspired, because a lot of times, this is not something that you have desired or been doing most of your life, just picking up and making a quilt like this might be a little irritating also. But I'm really trying to make this as easy as possible. So, alright, so you see how I ironed that basically, right, to match one side. And then I'm going to fold this and do the same thing on the other side so that we have matching widths. Okay, and remember, they don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be perfect. Just get them as close as possible. Okay, nobody's going to go around and measuring and go, oh, you're a 1/8 of a millimeter off, or centimeter, or inch, or whatever. You're off. Nobody's going to do that. And then if you are off and it's noticeable, those things add character to me. So I don't even trip too much off of things not being exactly perfect visually, okay? I personally have a lot of flaws, and so I find pleasure and joy in seeing things that have flaws, seeing the beauty in things that have flaws. So I'm just straightening that out a little bit because it felt a little wide at the top up there, so I straightened that out a little bit by folding it and pressing it down a little bit more. Okay? Alright, so now these two pieces pretty much match width-wise. Okay? And this is the one that I already have the angled edge to, so if I hold that up straight, you'll see where I press that down to make an edge, a slant at the bottom so that it could lay on the line. Where we go? Put it on that line. Can you see that? Okay, yeah, there we go. So it lays on the line and has a slant to it. Okay, so we're making a slant. We're making a slant for the opposite side now. So I find that just laying things out the way that you need them to look so that you can visualize what it is you're trying to get is the best way to do this. Okay, so I laid that out. Okay. I'm going to bring this up to that line. It's the same line. Wish I could move this back a little bit. Oh, I can. Just a tad. Just moving my sewing machine over here, you guys, so I can get this camera to go back a little bit more. Okay, we making a camera move. Be patient with me again. And I hope I didn't end the video in the process. Bear with me, y'all. Bear with me. Bear with me. There we have this. Is zoomed in again. We don't want that. We don't want no zoom, 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 zoom. Don't want no zoom, 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 zoom. That's my phone.